Ay, ay, ay. Today has been a day. Um, we've had fun. We've had fun. If you're a Jazz fan, you really had fun last night. Simple fact of the matter is, I wanted to make this a quick little live stream. Not sure how many people will pop in here while I'm doing it, but you know, got to make it more interesting. You know what I'm saying? Who's in the chat with me right now? Zach, that's you. Let me know something. But this is more so, I'm trying a little bit of a different format. I know usually when I do live streams, it's a lot like speech based and whatnot, or more so conversational between everybody. Freddie, what's up, man? I just wanted to do a quick little 30-minute live stream that guys can watch back the VOD of, get little opinions of the game. Because I got work, I'll be working third shift security during Saturdays and Sundays, so I don't always get to get live. I don't get to go live all the time. Hopefully that'll change soon. No. But in the meantime, in between time, the Utah Jazz managed to go ahead and solidify their ability to be known as the better team between the two of the rebuilding rosters against the Portland Trailblazers. Now, 118, 113 was a little high, but when you take into account the fact that there was an overtime period, defensively things look a lot better for the Jazz. Offensively, things also looked a lot better. There was very many impressive points. Obviously, the most important parts were Yurtseven, Collin Sexton, and Keyonte George. Now, Keyonte George's playmaking wasn't necessarily, it didn't bounce back the way we hoped it would have. He did have 6 assists to 4 turnovers. Yurtseven put together a masterclass on the glass. Literally, it was bad for, what's his name? For DeAndre Ayton. There was no domination in that game. There was no dominating in that game. Yurtseven, Big Yurt was cooking him. He had 15 boards. So I believe I'll give him credit. I think he had 10. I could be wrong. No, he had 11. 10 defensive, 1 offensive rebounds for Ayton. But overall, his performance just didn't look as good on paper or in the actual game as it did for Big Yurt. Now, Collin Sexton obviously led the team with 25. Keyonte George had his career high 21 as well, which was beneficial. And Keyonte shot very well from the field. Now, I know my last video up to date is actually one talking about how should Keyonte George get benched for more wins temporarily. The idea behind that simple principle is I'm looking at it from a draft perspective. We're going to have to go pick either this offseason or after next offseason. It all depends on our positioning this year. If we're a bottom 10 team, then I believe, if memory serves me right, it should be the Thunder. Basically a team that's rebuilding in the West on the similar timeline to us, but's further along than us, will end up getting our lower draft pick. But if we end up out of the bottom 10, then it'll be that draft pick from this year. And considering that this upcoming draft is supposed to be weaker than the draft after that, I'd rather keep the one for the pick after that one as opposed to this one. With that in mind, though, obviously Keyonte George is the point guard of the future. I wasn't saying that Chris Dunn was the point guard of the future. He's like 30 years old. He's 29, bordering 30. So it's just a temporary thing that would allow us to win enough games to keep us out of the bottom 10. So we give a nearby opponent less of an advantage over us since they're already past us. With that in mind, though, this game was a really good game. Now, obviously, it is the Portland Trailblazers, and they're not going to be in the playoff picture. We know they're rebuilding. We know Scoot has had a very rough year. He played actually pretty decently. He had 17 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, I believe, in this one. And he shot 40% from the field and 2 of 5 from 3. So he had a solid game himself. But obviously, this is more so about the Jazz, so you got to take a deeper dive in. Now, one thing that I think was really important for Will Hardy in this one was making sure he kept his playmakers on the floor and allowed them to make plays when it was necessary. The biggest issue that we've had in the past, specifically from a Collin Sexton standpoint, is if he plays really well in spurts of minutes, he's going to get benched after a certain point, and then he'll just come back and play spot minutes whenever it is. That's not really that doesn't work well for his play style because he doesn't heat up that quickly. He works his way into it, which is why I personally believe that he should be starting over Jordan Clarkson once Jordan Clarkson is healthy. But with that being said, it's kind of up in the air right now. So I'm going to have a separate video. It's going to take a couple days for me to create, but hopefully by the end of this week, that one will come out. That being said, the starting lineup for this game, Logic, what's up, man? I didn't think you were going to be able to pop in here. Hey. With that being said, Fontecchio, John Collins, Yurtseven, Abaji, and George started this one. And overall, it was a very interesting spread. Um, how do I put it? Fontecchio wasn't as great as we hoped he would have been, and that was problematic. Obviously, Luka Somanic is the one. Move here. Yeah, yeah. Walker was fighting for his life. Walker was fighting for his life. Um, side note, super side note. Yurt had a pretty nice block in overtime. Now, obviously, it was what it was, but at the same time, it was like, yeah, it was nice to see. Um, the biggest thing I would say out of this one that we saw from the starters, Keyonte shot a little bit better than he did. If we won the game before overtime starts, I believe he would have been like 7 of 14 from the field, which would have been 50%. Because at one point in the fourth, he had 5 missed shots. He was 1 of 6. No. He had 6 missed shots. He was 7 of 13 from the game, and he was 1 of 7 from beyond the arc. He ended up finishing the game 1 of 8 from beyond the arc. I'm a little bit concerned about his shooting right now because his 3 pointers, not only is he taking a lot of them, and some of them are threes that he needs to take. Some of them is just him off the catch, not hitting, and that's the concerning part because there's not a lot of he's not being smothered in these threes that he's missing. And considering that he's going to take 8 a game, which is borderline, Lowry numbers, you need to hit more of those. This game, I believe we've shot probably our worst 3-point percentage across the season at 20.6%. We were 7 for 34. Simon Fontecchio was 1 of 8. John Collins was 1 of 4, but he did hit a big one when we finally needed. Keyonte was 1 of 8. Taylor Hendricks was 1 of 4. Positives for Taylor Hendricks, though. I can live with that right now. THT, though, was 3 of 5. Got to give credit where credit is due. He was 5 of 8 from the field, 62.5%. 3 of 5 from the 3-point line. 1 of 2 from, the free throw line, but that's acceptable. And he did it in basically almost 21 minutes, 20 minutes, 21 minutes. So he had 2 assists, 4 rebounds. He did have only 1 turnover, so that was actually a really good ratio for him in particular. And he also had 3 steals to boot. So THT was on one. It kind of is going to go under the radar because number 1, we played the Trailblazers. Number 2, he didn't score the most. And number 3, it just didn't pop off the page for most people. But he was the best 3-point shooter in this game, and we needed him for that victory. On the other side of things, we also had Collin Sexton, who, in my eyes, between him and Yurtseven, they were the 2 MVPs of the game. Keyonte George goes slightly underneath them, too, because his performance was solid, and it was one of the better ones he's had. Obviously, he had a career high 21. The issue was those missed 3-pointers are an extreme concern. Driving to the basket, he was actually very solid, and I love to watch it because in the past, we've seen him get to the rim but not be able to finish. He was a lot better overall, so we are appreciative of that. But by and large, that's going to be a part of his game that has to get a little bit better. Just as he builds on weight and gets stronger, that will obviously clear things up. But his shooting stroke has to improve, or he has to reduce the number of 3-point attempts that he's taking. We can't have the Utah version of the previous Julius Randle, because Julius Randle either went to the rim or he shot threes. And when he shot threes, he would shoot like 5 or 6 a game and then go 1 for 6, 1 for 5. And it's like, it's bad. It's terrible. That being said, he did have 6 boards, 6 assists, 4 turnovers, which wasn't great for him. I'm pretty sure that is a season high or tied it for him. But I don't think that'll be like the norm or anything like that. Overall, I didn't hate his performance. His field goal percentage was obviously higher than his season average. I believe he averages around 34-ish, 35-ish% from the field. So him shooting 41% was good. But you said Collin went off. He started cutting to the rim off ball, and it worked well for him. Exactly. Collin Sexton played this game really smart. He ended the game with the highest field goal percentage. Well, not the highest. Walker Kessler technically did. He was 6 of 6. But Collin Sexton was 9 of 13. The difficulty of his shots was a little bit higher. He did end up missing both of the threes that he took, but he also didn't follow those 2 misses up with more misses trying to get his percentage up, which I love to see. He made the smartest play at all times. He was also 7 of 7 from the free throw line, which is going to go under the radar, but was really big. Keyonte was 6 of 10, which I also found to be a little bit interesting because I don't know what's going on with his shooting touch. Because the 3-pointers is one thing, but I didn't expect him to go 6 of 10. Like 6 of 8, I could see that from him, like a 75-ish%. wouldn't surprise me, but that 6 to 10 is a pretty solid sample size from one game. Admittedly, he did end up playing one of his higher end of minutes with 35, almost 36 minutes. But that's just something to keep an eye on. But going back to Collin Sexton, he also had 4 rebounds, 5 assists, and let me see here. So I don't misquote. He did have 3 turnovers in this one. One of those came in overtime. He did have 2 in the first 4 periods. And then he only had 4 fouls. So he led the team with 25 points. Gotta love it. Hey, Key. Now, the biggest thing about this one, I would say, the most concerning points, right? We barely beat the Trailblazers. That's probably the biggest concern, but we didn't have Lowry. We didn't have Clarkson. Clarkson, to me, is a net negative. He's a nice player to have when he's at his best, but by and large, across this entire season, if you look at his metrics, it's not very good. Now, the thing is, with that in mind, he also is the second leading scorer for the team. So my mental mindset is Collin Sexton should start over him. Collin Sexton going to be good in more minutes. Collin Sexton played 30 minutes in this one. Thankfully, Will Hardy elected to have him play. I believe he played the entirety of the overtime period. I could be wrong though, but he played. No, he played all of it. Yeah, he played all of the overtime period. So he was obviously originally around like the 24, 25-ish minute mark. And he didn't close out the game in that closing lineup. But then start of the overtime period, he was in over Abaji. And he didn't do anything super impressive, but defensively, he was tenacious. He was there. He was in their face. At one point, he got obliterated over a screen. You see him stumble, and he's like frantically getting up, and then he jumps to contest the shot. Love the effort, right? Because there's been quite a few guys where there's been many games where effort has been missing from this team and this roster. Overall, you have a lot of situations where guys, if they get beat over a screen or they go under a screen, they're not going to put a heavy contest. They're not going to put put the best effort into everything that they do. And when you're a Utah Jazz team that isn't as skilled and talented and doesn't have the same consistency and cohesiveness that other teams have, you have to have the effort behind it. And Collin Sexton, to me, is the biggest embodiment of that on this roster at the moment. Now, Yurtseven is a very close second, in my opinion. And offensively, John Collins has been Mr. Consistency. He's still struggling a little bit from his shooting, but he was 4 for 4 from the free throw line. So I'm inclined to believe that his 3 missed 3-pointers aren't something that we should be concerned about. And he was 6 of 14 overall shooting because of those. That being said, he ended up the game with 17 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. And he also had steal, 3 blocks, and only 2 turnovers to go along with that. So defensively, he was present, he was aware, and he was helping out. Simon Fontecchio played 35 minutes, which was a little bit scary. Sachin, what's up, man? My number 1 editor right there. That's my guy. If anybody else does videos on the side, whether it be basketball related or otherwise, honestly, Sachin definitely, he does clips, he does edits, he does a bunch of different stuff. And actually, he has my Taylor Hendricks video right now. And whenever he finishes it, I'll go ahead and put that up for you guys to go ahead and check that out. Definitely going to be around for the channel for the long term. Appreciate you, man. Where were we? Looking at it from a minutes perspective, in my eyes, Simon Fontecchio shouldn't have played 35 minutes. He's not a lockdown on defense, but he did end up having 2 blocks, right? Now, he did have 5 assists and 5 boards, so he was mildly effective, and he only had 2 turnovers. But the issue was he's supposed to be that 3-point shooter. He's not a 3-and-D player, but he's a really nice 3-point shooter. Him to go 3 of 12 from the field and 1 of 8 from beyond the arc isn't what we want from him. Now, Luka Samanic, caught myself. Luka Samanic played 12 minutes and got up 5 shot attempts. He was 1 of 5 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3. He also had 3 boards, 1 block, and managed to have 3 personal fouls, which obviously attributed to the fact that he only managed to play almost 12 minutes in this one. So things weren't exactly perfect, and I kind of want to see Bryce Sensabaugh get activated in this one, but it's understandable that he didn't, and we managed to get the W, so I'm not complaining. Also, being able to see Taylor Hendricks in this one was a godsend. In the video that I recorded that Sachin's editing, I actually didn't realize that he had been activated for this game. I knew obviously Walker was out, but I didn't know that Olynyk was also going to be out, and that would lead to his activation. Because in my eyes, I just thought it would end up to like more interesting lineups with the bigs, and obviously more minutes for somebody like a Fantecchio. That being said, he was active. He played 17 and a half, a little over 17 and a half minutes, basically 18 minutes. He was 2 of 7 from the field, so it was rough from a shooting standpoint. He was 1 of 4 from 3, even though, in the G League, he's averaging like 14, 6, and 3. His shooting splits, I believe, are 44% from the field and 38% from 3 now, across not a 9-game sample size, so a decent enough number. With that in mind, though, he touched the court. He was decently effective. Obviously, rebounding wise, he ended up having 2 boards, but he also had 2 blocks and only 1 personal foul. So that's something to keep an eye on. I believe that he, no matter how many games we play him in, as long as he plays at least 10-ish, 15-ish minutes a night, when the time comes, he'll definitely at least average a block a game. Because he's a great help side defender, even if you don't play him at the 5, which I don't think that we should, right? He has a similar shooting touch to John Collins. He's a little bit better defensively overall, though. That being said, it might push John Collins a little bit to realize that his minutes might be a little bit in jeopardy in the long term of things. But by and large, John Collins is the better overall player, and he's just, from an experience standpoint, more capable of producing on an offensive side of the ball. So because of that, Taylor Hendricks obviously has been in the G League to work on his game away from the basket and also on his catch and shoot threes, which to his credit, 38% is a darn high percentage when he's shooting like 5.6 threes a game. So solid sample size, good numbers. I think that will be the easiest part of his game to translate, as well as him being a help side defender. If we can put him on the weakest shooter on an opposing team and have him roam a little bit, he has the instincts and the range, really, to just affect people's shots at the rim and help out Walker Kessler or Omer Yurtseven on the floor. Omer did a great job of staying vertical the entire game. He ended up with 3 personal fouls, and he played 27 minutes. So it was a little bit rough at times, but by and large, specifically in that final frame, in that overtime frame, he was really good when we really needed him to be. And that was the most important part in my eyes. He was 4 of 8 from the field, and he did miss the 1 3 he took, but he was willing to take the 3. And that's the biggest aspect for his game that I think Walker can gain by observing from the sideline and being on the court in his own minutes, being willing to take the shot even if it doesn't go in. Because if you are unwilling to take the shot, there's no reason for a big to step out there when you go to help. There's just no point, because they know the only way you're effective is at the rim. So they can sink under every single time. There's no reason to go high because there's no threat of you doing anything. And that means their man's going to always try and fight over the top of the screen. Whoever's guarding the guard that Walker sets the screen for, they're going to fight over the screen. Or if it's just an action where Walker's sitting in the corner, he's a non-threat entirely, and the big can sit there in the paint, which isn't going to be conducive to long-term success. Omer, meanwhile, is going to be willing to take 1, 2, or 3 threes a night. He might hit one of them. He might hit 2 of them. Tonight, obviously, he took one and missed it, but he was willing to take that shot. With that said, he had 4 offensive rebounds, which were big. He also had 11 defensive rebounds, 15 rebounds in a game. We needed those, right? Our next leading rebounder was obviously John Collins with 9, and then Walker Kessler, of course, with 8. He had 4 offensive rebounds as well and 4 defensive rebounds. So those came up clutch. Overall, Walker's 12 and 8, and to go along with his 2 blocks was solid. We had 11 blocks overall this game, which I really loved seeing, because that just meant that guys were being able to affect shots without getting called for fouls. Admittedly, we also did have a total of 21 fouls, so not perfect. But when you look at the spread, there was no guys that had more than 4. THD had 3. Yurtseven had 3. And then Luka had 3. So by and large, everybody was pretty good about not being foul dominant. And we took okay care of the ball. Obviously, there were some costly turnovers in the length of the game, but we had 17 overall, which is slightly under what the average, I believe, is for the team overall this season. At one point, we were averaging 17 and a half. So even going by that number, we're still slightly under. Not great, obviously, overall taking care of the ball. But on the glass, did a bang-up job. We had 56 boards to their 40. So a considerable difference in that one, right? They also didn't have as many turnovers as we did. They ended up – that's an abnormally low number. They had 9 turnovers. So from that aspect, we didn't force enough, which means we didn't get enough fast breaks. But that was okay because we ended up holding on long enough to go ahead and get the job done. The biggest aspects of this one, if you're a Utah Jazz fan, which obviously most of us are, Walker Kessler, solid off the bench. Omer Yurtseven, solid starter. You can play him a lot of minutes, and he's doing a really good job, right? John Collins, for now, still even with occasionally rougher shooting nights, he's still extremely serviceable. Um, Ochai, good defense. He was three. I didn't talk about him yet. He was 3 of 4 from the field. He didn't take any threes in this one, which was a little bit surprising for me. But he also had 2 rebounds. He did have 2 turnovers, which is a little bit less than desirable. But overall, he was solid defensively, more so in the minutes that he played. Keyonte needs to find his 3 point shooting stroke or decrease the number of attempts that he takes because there's other opportunities for other players on the team if he doesn't take those threes. And because he's not going 0 of 3, he's not going 0 of 4. 1 of 8 is an extremely significant number. That's 7 missed attempts. And while we love the confidence, right, we always said we wanted him to be confident. We also want him to be intelligent about the takes that he has and understanding where he needs to be on the court and what decisions he needs to make as the point guard and the true and most genuine facilitator of the offense that we have beside Chris Dunn, who's currently away from the team. Now, to look at the Portland Trailblazers and give them a little bit of love because obviously this was a hard fought game for them. The Utah Jazz actually, hold on. The Utah Jazz were actually just really good from a overall field goal percentage. We were 49%, 48.9. 46 of 94 in attempts. They were 38 of 95, which works out to 40%. So they were below average. We were above average. Overall shooting, though, they had 13 out of 43s hit. So that was 32.5%. We were 7 of 34, which was 20.6%, which wasn't good. But we had enough overall field goals to make things count. Now, looking at it more so specifically at the Portland Trailblazers, you had Toumani Camara, Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, Shaedon Sharpe, and Malcolm Brogdon as their starting 5. Off the bench, they had Jabari Walker, Scoot Henderson, Reith, and Matisse Thybulle coming off the bench. The bench unit wasn't terrible. Scoot was not great, but also not bad, I guess you would say. By and large, his percentages this season have been really rough. One going 2 of 5 from 3, hitting 3 out of his 4 free throws. Had 17 points, so that was good. And he won, and Jeremy Grant had 3. Now, I would say the most ineffective player on their team in this one would have had to have been Jeremy Grant because he did go 1 of 9 from the field and 0 of 5 from 3. Now, with that in mind, he was 7 of 7 from the free throw line and had 3 boards and a block, but he also had obviously the 3 turnovers and shot 11% from the field. So definitely not ideal in the slightest. Toumani Camara was 4 of 8, 0 of 3 from beyond the arc, but he had 3 boards and 4 steals and a block. So that was not great, but he also was he got into foul trouble late. He did have 4. Shaedon Sharpe ended up with 5 fouls at the end of this one, shooting 9 of 20 from the field for 45%, 3 of 8 from 3 for 37.5%, going 4 of 4 from the free throw line. And he also had 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals to go along with that. Malcolm Brogdon obviously was the man of the hour for the most of the game, who came up really big when they needed him to towards the end of the fourth quarter, leading into overtime. Now, he was 8 of 17 from the field, works out to 47.1%. He was 5 of 9 from 3, and those threes that he hit late were really big for them. Obviously, that's what allowed them to even stay in the game long enough to get to overtime. And he's Malcolm Brogdon for a reason, and people have been talking about trading for him for a reason, the Utah Jazz included. Now, that being said, that works out to 55.6% from the three-point line. He was 4 of 6 in free throws, and he had 3 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, a block, and 3 turnovers to go along with it. He paced their team alongside Shaedon Sharpe, both with 25 points. The next leading scorer was the forever entertaining and interesting DeAndre Ayton. 10 points, 11 boards. No assists, no steals, no blocks, no turnovers, but 3 personal fouls. So overall, a kind of forgettable game. When I first thought about DeAndre Ayton when he got drafted to the Suns, I really thought that he could have a Shaq type peak, but I thought that he could be an 18 and 10 guy, 18 and 12 guy. Even at the peak of his powers, probably a 20, 22 point per game, 12 board kind of guy, like a Joel Embiid in a sense. And then he just never happened. So I can't say if it's a thing of scheme right now with the team he's with, or if it's just him not being that guy. And I'm starting to get closer towards coming to that realization. Freddie dominating. Exactly. Yeah. We haven't seen it. We have not seen it. But let me rephrase that, because he was 4 of 8 from the field, right? 2 of 2 from the free throw line. So he wasn't terrible, but he also just doesn't look like he's as good as he should be. It'd be kind of like if LeBron at his peak gave you like 15 points, 4 rebounds, or 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. Like, yeah, that's a decent stat line, right? But like prime LeBron, he should be capable of so much more than that. So for DeAndre Ayton to give us 10 and 11 on a rebuilding team is crazy. Maybe he just needs more touches. Maybe Shaedon Sharpe shouldn't be taking 20 attempts. Maybe Malcolm Brogdon shouldn't be taking 17 attempts. Maybe Scoot Henderson shouldn't be taking 15 attempts a game. Maybe DeAndre Ayton needs a game where he can get 20 attempts himself. Or 15. He only had 8 in this one, right? Give him 15 attempts. Let's see what he can put together. Slow down the pace of the game, allow him to work a little bit, get into his bag, and show people what he's truly capable of doing. We haven't seen it yet, so can't expect much of it. With that in mind, Jabari Walker off the bench was rough, 1 of 5 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3. 2 of 2 from the free throw line, though. He had 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and the other turnover worked out with 4 points. Scoot, like I said, 6 of 15. Reith also in 14 minutes was 3 of 8 from the field, 37.5%, 1 of 4 from 3, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, had 1 rebound, 1 assist, and that was it, 9 points total. And Matisse Thybulle came up clutch for them defensively. Obviously, we knew he was a defensive piece. He didn't have much of an offensive impact. He was 2 of 5 from the field for 40%. Both shots that he took and made were 3-pointers, so he was 2 of 4. He had 3 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks, and only 1 personal foul, no turnovers. So that to go along with his 6 points, got to respect what he did. He was a +9. He had the highest box plus minus out of anybody on their team, with Reith being second and across his 14 minutes of action. Obviously, Moses Brown, Skylar Mays, and Chris Murray for them were inactives. And for us, Johnny Uzang, Micah Potter, and Bryce Sensabaugh were the 3 DNPs. He said Ayton just had one of the worst teams to go to. I think schematically it probably wouldn't benefit him, but seeing as Scoot isn't being as prolific as we thought he would have been, it would have made sense. Oh, you're talking about the Suns. Yes, that was always interesting to me because they believed in Devin Booker, who in my eyes, Devin Booker is not a superstar. People will argue that, and I just don't think he's a superstar. I don't know if he ever will be. He's better than he was previously defensively. I wouldn't say he's a lockdown, though. Like, if I'm an NBA player, I'm not looking at Devin Booker and saying, I need to pass the ball. I'm still thinking I'm getting a bucket on him. I'm not going to lie, right? Because he has a super high offensive burden, and he hasn't been known for he was known for being trash at defense before by choice, and now he's giving more effort. So he's definitely the better out of the big 3. Him, Bradley Beal, and KD. He's the best defender out of the 3 of them, but he's still not a Kawhi Leonard, Paul George type lockdown guy, right? He's more of an effort-based finesse kind of guy in that department, playing the passing lanes as well. You said all-star at best. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. It's always been a thing of him just looking the part, playing the part, being the part. And I don't know how realistic a lot of people think it is, but he wasn't a winner until Chris Paul went there. Just saying. No shade to him for that, but he just had to be taught how to win. And now he has the opportunity. And he's been playing really well this season. Don't get it twisted. I'm not calling Devin Booker trash because I know sometimes it comes off that way. I know. But I would agree with you on that one. I felt like the Suns should have given him DeAndre Ayton the opportunity to be DeAndre Ayton. I don't think they did. I thought him coming to the Trailblazers alongside Scoot, those pick and rolls would have been insane. The only issue is Scoot can't really shoot that well, so it's going to the rim every time. But I still wanted to see how it would work. Now, obviously, Scoot hasn't started out this season as good as we wanted him to, so that's probably the biggest issue in the situation as a whole. But by and large, I don't think that Aiden's career is over. I just think he needs the opportunity to get up shots because I refuse to believe that he's this bad, right? Or this mediocre. Let me put it that way. He's not. He shouldn't be this average in the league because I think his ceiling is Joel Embiid or kind of close to it. Maybe not the 3-point shooting, right? But I think he has the ability to be really, really good, and they just don't put him in situations that allow him to be. He says Suns had a good core and they blew it up. Bridges and Ayton and Booker was, in my opinion, a higher ceiling long term than the big three they have now. Oh, most definitely. And believe me when I say this. I have a decent number. Like obviously this channel changed towards the trajectory of projecting for like Jazz fans because you guys picked up the content the most. But I also had a fair showing out of the Phoenix Suns fans. I think like a good 80 out of my subs are Phoenix Suns fans. So they're overdue for an overall video. But they were hating on me because I said that they really just got 3 guys that all do the exact same thing. They have Booker, they have KD, and they have Beal. All 3 of them are different heights. All 3 of them are injury prone. All 3 of them aren't great defenders. All 3 of them shoot the ball really well, right? And all 3 of them aren't known for their playmaking. So it's 3 of the same guy, and they're expecting them to be, an all-star contender level team. And that's not to say that they can't be, because at the beginning it wasn't looking that way because they had no bench depth. But then they got bench depth. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So now you guys' issues are still going to be defense, right? Because your 3 starters, the 3 guys that are playing the most, are going to be not defensive players. And secondarily, injuries, right? Injuries, because for defense, if all 3 of them have an off night, right, or if 2 of them have an off night, one of them going to be enough to outscore the opposing team? Because you have no defense in that 3-man lineup, right? And then from an injury standpoint, that's what they've been dealing with this entire season. And all the Suns fans were getting on me in the comments, disliking the video, telling me I didn't know what I was talking about. I was right. Now, admittedly, of course, we're only like almost 20-ish, 20 games into the season now, 19, 20. So I could be wrong. But 20 games into the season, I'm still right now. So unless something dramatic happens across like that back stretch of the regular season, I don't think they'll even have shared the court long enough to have the chemistry necessary to make a title run. They'll get busted depending on their first round matchup. They might clear that and get to the second round, but I don't see them clearing the second round. And I'll stand on that one now. Of course, I'm a man of my word, and so if I do end up being wrong, I'll be the first guy to make a video, and the video caption will be "I was wrong," but hasn't happened yet. Not in that sense, anyways. Allah Rajab. Did I say your name right, bro? Is it Allah Rajab? That's your first time commenting in the chat, bro. What's up? Have you been subscribed this whole time? You said, what's Sexton's ceiling, or what do you project for him going forward? This is the thing about Collin Sexton. He needs minutes, and he needs to feel like as long as he does the right thing, he's not going to get pulled from the game. If you give him those 2 things, he will produce at a high enough level. I believe that he has the ability. He's an undersized 2 guard. I've never thought of him as a point guard. In the beginning, I watched him since he was in high school when he first broke out on the scene in EYBL. Back, what was it, like 2017, 2016, 2017, around that range? Because I was still in high school too. So he was that guy. But he was a bucket getter. He was going to go at your head and he was going to give it to you every single time. A lot of people don't understand that. And so they're like, oh, make him a playmaker. It's like you can't make somebody a playmaker at the NBA level. The Spurs are trying to do it with Jeremy Sohan, and it's not working right now. But it's possible. I mean, Greg is a heck of a coach. He's been a great coach for, 2-3 decades now. So even though the team's not winning right now, I believe that there is a possibility that can happen. For Sexton, I'm not expecting him to be a great playmaker. I'm expecting him to be okay enough, right? I would expect him to have 3-4-ish assists a night. That being said, I think he's a shooting guard. I think he's a very undersized shooting guard. He's like all of 6'1.5", 6'2", right? tenacious on defense. The effort's always there, but his game will, as he gets older, rely on that ability to get open to get stops on defense and just be there. Because right now he can be there and have a hand up and guys still shoot over him. So that hurts his game and his stock overall to a certain extent, which means he has to rely on his overall shooting efficiency and efficiency from beyond the arc to make up for it, because he's also not a terrific playmaker. Now, if you give him the starting role and you say, look, the expectation is not that you play make, but if there is an open guy and you're on a drive and you don't have that bucket, make that extra pass. And he makes that extra pass, I believe he will. And I believe he can give you at worst, a cool 18 a night. I don't see any worlds where Collin Sexton gets up 20 shot attempts, 20 or more shot attempts, like Jordan Clarkson has, and then shoots 30% from the field. I don't see that happening. I don't see him shooting 37%. I see him shooting maybe 42% at worst, right? Like maybe a 9 of 20 situation. But I don't see that's 45% actually. So I don't see any world where he shoots as bad as Clarkson does on that same number of shot attempts, because the types of shot attempts he takes are slightly different. For one, he's more likely to get to the shot attempts that are the best statistically percentage wise. He just doesn't always make the greatest decisions when he has the ball in his hands, which is the biggest gripe about him. Now, overall turnover wise, he's less turnover prone, slightly less turnover prone than Jordan Clarkson from a number standpoint so far this season. With that in mind, you said, so why don't they start him? Your guess is as good as mine. I think it's just the fact that Clarkson has been with the team so long, they're trying to give him the benefit of the doubt and give him the opportunity to be that second scoring option behind Lowry, because Lowry is always number one, right? Number 3 is always John Collins. He's been consistent. He's had a little bit of a rough patch since Lowry's been out, but when Lowry's on the court with him, always consistent, smooth sailing. He's going to give you a cool 14 guaranteed on over 50% shooting, which is phenomenal, right? That's a great third option. That's a terrific third option. He's hitting a high percentage of his threes, which is even better. That validates you putting him on the floor alongside another big like Walker Kessler or Yurtseven, considering that he himself is not a great rim protector, right? That said, the Clarkson situation has always been a conundrum to me, because it's like, are you having him on the floor for a leadership thing and for maybe a clutch factor? Because those are really the only two things that you could validly say, because he did win us the game against the Clippers, right? Had the big shot and then played lockdown defense on Kawhi Leonard for a possession. So he is a capable defender. He's just not a consistent defender. And when you combine inconsistent defense with lackluster playmaking, high levels of turnovers, and then really bad shooting splits by and large, do you really want to keep starting that guy for one? And do you really want to keep playing him 32 to 34-ish minutes? And Will Hardy and the rest of the coaching staff has said, yeah, we're going to keep doing it. To me, give Collin Sexton the opportunity, let Jordan Clarkson go back to the 6-man position, where he ended up being 6-man of the year at one point and shooting very good, very, very solid percentages, right? And just go from there. But it's just it's a choice that they're going to have to make. And I'm going to make my personal video. There's going to be a plea about the statistical categories. And I'm going to have Sachin. I don't know if I'm going to actually put my face in that one. I might put my face in at the beginning and at the end. But like the middle parts are going to be just straight game footage and charts. And I'm going to have Sachin actually cook that up for me. Once I have the script ready, I'm going to go ahead and send it to him. But by and large, outside of that, I don't know. I just don't know. He said, do you think long-term Sexton having to adapt low minutes and producing will help his growth long-term? I see what you're saying. That is a very interesting point. Now, yes, anybody that's really good at producing in low spurts tends to be able to stretch it out. And even if their percentages drop a little bit, they're still typically better than people that have always been volume shooters the entirety of their career. That being said, I don't know how realistic it is for Collin Sexton specifically, considering the way his game is. He doesn't have a play at my own pace, slow it down, pull up, dribble you down to death, get an opening, get to the rim. He doesn't have a Kyrie Irving type game. He doesn't have a Malcolm Brogdon type game, if that makes sense. So him in shorter minutes doesn't really work the same, because his is all about energy. It's about explosiveness. It's about getting to the rim. It's about making the right play immediately. Having that quick twitch mind that tells him, this is the play I want to make. If this screen comes and the top foot drops, I'm cutting this way. I'm going. Like he's a very quick decision maker. So he's not very good at slowing that pace down and just operating at an entirely different speed. So long term, I think the fact that he can't do that might affect his career more. And if he is able to slightly develop that playing less minutes while coming in like spotty on the bench, yeah, but it's also difficult to change who a player is when they're, already in the NBA for one, and then they're like 4, 5, 6, 7 years into their career for two. Now, that's not to sit there and say that he's going to suffer if he can't produce in shorter minutes, but I think that it's going to make it, at the very least, common people that just observe the game and say, oh, look at this. They're going to think that he's a terrible shooter. And that's not necessarily the case. He just needs to be on the court for a consistent period of time to get into the rhythm of things and touch the ball enough to go ahead and pick his shots out when he wants and get them off. But yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. If he's forced to adapt, I would say I don't know if he's capable of it. If he does adapt, though, that would probably stretch out his long-term career aspect and the ability for other teams to take a risk on him, whether the Jazz keep him there the entirety of the rest of his career, or if they decide, you know what, we're going to go ahead and deal him at some point. So my concern with Sexton in the starting lineup is that we will also have Keyonte at point, but also kind of interesting in a year or two if it works. Logic, talk to me more about that real quick. I would say the biggest thing for me, watching them, particularly in the overtime period, that was a really good period of basketball for me because I saw three things. I saw Yurtseven in crunch time, which when he was with the Heat, he wasn't playing big minutes. So with us, he's getting that opportunity. I need to see, can he handle the pressure? Can he handle the heat? Right? Walker Kessler wasn't on the floor. He didn't touch the floor during OT. Yurtseven did. He was there the whole time. Collins played solid defense in OT. I needed to see that. Fontecchio played solid defense in OT. I needed to see that, right? Especially when he was shooting hot dog water from the field. 1 of 8 from three is unacceptable. If you're Fontecchio, if your job is to shoot threes and you're having a poor shooting night, let your coach know so he can pull you and put somebody else on the floor for your minutes, right? But Hardy and them left him out there, and to his credit, he got enough stops and he was good enough on defense to not be too much of a negative. He was still a negative in the game, but he wasn't terrible negative because he gave that defensive effort. Now, when I look at Keyonte and Collin is a better defender because he's slightly more aware and he just has more effort behind what he does. Keyonte's still learning the effort part and he's also not as aware, which makes him a little bit lower. That being said, their size and their height, like the height there, wouldn't be the greatest, which might be a big concern, especially from a wingspan standpoint, getting into passing lanes and stuff like that and recovering. If you have them playing in help, they're more liable to overhelp and then not be able to get back and get a healthy contest on somebody. So that might be a big concern. You said, what does he need to show to start or play more minutes? Honestly, if he plays like he did tonight consistently enough, I feel like they're going to eventually give him the opportunity to start a game. And if he hits in that game, they might give him one more. If he hits in that one, then it becomes a conversation for them where they're like, okay, he's been pretty solid lately. Like even off the bench, he's been solid. So we kind of have to, at the very least, give him his due opportunity. THT got an opportunity. Clarkson has had more than an opportunity. It's time to let Collin Sexton see what he can work with. You said size-wise for those two, but if they work together, I see how our offense could be moving through them together. Yes. Okay, I see what you're saying. So yeah, touching on the size part. Defensively, the size presents a little bit more of an issue than I would say offensively it does. Collin Sexton is a pretty solid catch and shoot three-pointer. Keyonte lost his catch and shoot three-pointer. I need him to find it again very quickly, especially for the amount that he's taking. I also liked how when I was talking about the overtime period as a whole, I liked how they used Big Yurt, right? You had Collin on one wing, and then you had Keyonte at the top of the key, and he was kind of like drift off to the other wing. And they would do a little bit of a two-man game, passing the ball back and forth. Keyonte would give it to Collin Sexton. Collin would survey the floor, kick it back to Keyonte, deferred to him basically every possession he had the ball, with the exception, I believe, one in the overtime period. He deferred and kicked the ball back to Keyonte, letting Keyonte be the point guard. Right? That's the experience that Keyonte needs. He's going to get pressured. He's going to get pressed. He's light. He's little. He's fresh into the league, right? So guys are going to get on him, especially in overtime periods, especially in clutch moments. Collin Sexton trusted him enough to put the ball in his hands in those moments and said, I know I'm that guy. I know I can get a bucket, but this isn't my team. I'm not the future. I'm not the mainstay future of this team. He is. Ball is yours. You create. If you want me to take the shot, I'll take the shot. But for now, I want you to be the person to make the decision. And I saw that at him. Now I need to see if they can shoot well with each other on the floor. I like a pick and roll with Keyonte and Yurtseven. I like a pick and roll with Collin Sexton and Yurtseven. If I can see that same sort of action out of Walker Kessler that I was seeing out of Yurtseven, that would be awesome. That would be chef's kiss. I don't know if we'll get that. Obviously, Walker Kessler is less awkward moving than Rudy Gobert, but there's something about big Yurt coming outside the three-point line instead of the screen. It just hits different. Like it's more intentional. It's more to the point. You said what will second average points wise this year, Sexton? If Sexton could really get around 16, I think 16, 17-ish. Now there's going to be some nights where he plays 20 or 24 minutes, so those will affect his averages. But by and large, they played him in clutch time today, and he gave you 25. He was 9 of 13. He doesn't take a massive amount of shot attempts to give you 20 points, to give you 15 points. He's efficient like that, and he's finally finding his foot. He's getting his foot in the door, so he's learning how to do better in those spot minutes, even though it's still hard for him in his play style. Because of that, I think it could easily give I'll say 16, 3, and 3, 16, 4, and 2, somewhere around there, 17, 4, and 2. You definitely could, right? Especially if off the bench you have him being having the most minutes. Now, if you have THT alongside him, that will hurt him because their offensive games don't complement each other. And THT honestly does a lot of detrimental things that kind of knife through what Collin Sexton does well. Christian, you said, what's up? You streaming during the weekend? So I wasn't going to, but I saw the overtime. I saw the end of last game, and then I saw the overtime period, like for end of the fourth quarter, like last 3 minutes, and then the overtime period. And I felt like that was a really good stretch that I had to talk about. But there was so many good things. I didn't want to just sit there and not cover all of them. I wanted to be able to get to everybody. That being said, I was like, you know what? Since I got up early today, I have work at 5 p.m. obviously Eastern time, so I got like 2 hours till I got to be at work. So I'm gonna take a little nap after this. And since we didn't have a game tonight, it didn't really make a difference. And I didn't have my video already set up. I have Sachin actually early in the chat. You'll see him. He's my editor for this channel, so he'll be putting together one for Taylor Hendricks. I might add on a little 1.5, 2-minute clip for Taylor Hendricks. I'm not 100% sure yet, but because he did play in the last game, but I wanted to go ahead and just maybe also condense all of the good things. Collin Sexton, Yurtseven, Keyonte George, Walker Kessler, and then Taylor Hendricks' mystery appearance all into one video. So I was like, let me just go live since I didn't go live already. I'll make it a shorter live than I usually do. I know we're usually on here for like 1.5 hours, 2 hours, almost 3 hours sometimes. I was like, let me go ahead and make it less than an hour. So any of the boys that usually would watch my live stream that obviously I didn't have it and they wish I had one, I'm gonna go ahead and make one for them so they can at the very least, whenever they get the opportunity, just catch the video or the VOD after I record it and after YouTube does whatever it does with the uploading of it. That said, anybody in the chat right now that has any video suggestions, go to my channel and go into like the community, under the community tab. I made a post asking for like video suggestions because I have a couple in mind, but I don't want to keep reusing similar topics, especially since this is like a jazz specific channel right now. I don't want to go too narrow on each individual point. I'd rather make it like more umbrella-ish. And if there's some player specifically that is overdue for a video, like I know John Collins is, who else did I say? I just posted a video about Yurt, but he played really good in this one, and I wanted to make a video about him, but I was just like, let me just talk about him a lot in this live stream right here. I have Taylor Hendricks dropping one. I'll probably have another one about Collin Sexton coming soon, and then I'm going to do a reboot for Keyonte George, but in a positive light. I know my last video wasn't like talking about the great things he does, but lately, the past 2 to 3 games, he's been looking not really nice, but better than he did before. Like very serviceable kind of beat. So I was like, you know what? I'll probably add that to the queue So what I might start doing is the days that I live stream, there won't be a regular video. The days that I don't live stream, there will be a regular video. And oh yeah, anybody that isn't a member, become a member to catch the videos earlier in the day than anybody else does. If you want to donate to the channel, it should be pinned actually in the comment section. Go ahead and donate to the Buy Me a Coffee thing. Obviously, ours is basketball channel, so buy me a basketball. Obviously, I made the post shouting out the people that did the most recent donations. My camera hasn't come in yet. I'm gonna have a second camera angle, so it won't show on the live stream. But in my other videos, if it's just me talking and I don't have extra like edits and stuff, it'll probably be one right here and then like a B cam like over to the side or the other side, just and I'll flip back and forth. Obviously I was able to get this mic. I have jerseys coming in the mail, so the set's gonna be a little bit changed thanks to the donators and the members. So right now I think the only member we have in the chat is Logic. Shout out to Logic. Actually, Logic, you were the first member. You were the first guy to become a member, so definitely shout out to you. But yeah, all that stuff is for that. I was thinking about doing merch, but I don't know what that would look like. If somebody has anything, any sort of suggestion, let me know something. Like design wise, obviously like t-shirts and hats would be lit. But yeah, you said, Christian, you said what jerseys do you have coming in? Obviously I have the Collins. This has been a mainstay for me, the Cleveland Collin Sexton jersey. I really like this Cleveland jersey in general. Like the design of it is just cool. I remember LeBron doing some insane things in the black jersey. Had to get one, but I was like, you know what, let me make it Collin Sexton because I love him. Got that. I'm gonna get the. I have it on my phone actually. Hold on. Before I just sit there and misquote. I had to screenshot the order just so I could tell you all about it. So I have the fast break replica player jersey, the icon edition. So the yellow one, the Utah Jazz yellow, like that little honey highlighter-ish yellow. I got that one, and that is going to be a Collin Sexton one, so I'll have that one as well. I have the city edition fast break jersey, the purple with the mountains across it, of Lauri Markkanen. Had to get that one. And then I also got a white Chicago Lonzo Ball jersey because it was massively discounted. It was only $30. I was like, I'm never going to see that again, so let me go ahead and cop that. Got that, and then I got a Kings De'Aaron Fox jersey because I like De'Aaron Fox. I've watched him. I saw him when he was at Cypress Lakes in high school, and then obviously in Kentucky when he was him, Malik Monk, and those boys, and Bam. And then on to the NBA. I just like seeing his success, even though I don't obviously I don't watch every Kings game. I do try to catch some of them or just catch his highlights just to see how he's doing out there. Next up, they didn't have a Keyonte George jersey, low key, which was surprising to me. They literally had the one where you have to like make it using the nameplate, the custom nameplate, which is like $100. I was like, okay, y'all are wild. So I need to get a Keyonte George one, and I need to get I'm debating. I might do John Collins, Walker Kessler, or Yurt. One of the three. I don't know which one I'm gonna do first. I would love to do all three, but I don't have all three money. Lee, what's up, bro? Yeah. You said glad to see the guards trusting each other and working together last night, even though it was closer than we were. Yeah. Plus, a win is a win, right? We'll take those. Oh yeah. Lee dropped his first video. I don't know if everybody saw, but his is React. If you go on your Google search, or not Google search, YouTube search, and you put in the @React the number 2 and then NBA, Lee's other channel comes up. He dropped his first video. He's going to be updating his audio, updating his camera soon. So within the next 3-ish videos, you're going to see a different version of Lee, even more advanced than the one you see in his first video. So glad he got started there. He's also touched base with Sachi, so his content's going to go through the roof. And honestly, who doesn't love Lee? So go ahead and subscribe if you haven't. I'm gonna drop it in the chat. Hold up. React to NBA. If you look that up, you might have to switch your filters to do channels since he only has like 6 subs right now. But I would say obviously it's definitely worth it because he's been part of the family. Lee's probably one of the biggest reasons why I was able to get this mic when I was able to get it because Lee's donations go crazy. Uh, but yeah, definitely subscribe to that. Me and Lee are gonna have some collabs. We weren't able to get to it this weekend. We had some scheduling conflicts and stuff like that. But probably at some point this week, me and him will do our first video together, and we're going to be in obviously continuous close contact as we always have been as we keep this thing going. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. He said, thanks very much. Much appreciated. Of course, Lee. You know what it is. I had to. Looking forward to it. Absolutely. Absolutely. I got to do something with my hair. I might just do like side braids next, probably. In the video, okay, so in my Taylor Hendricks video, I recorded it yesterday before the game. And so when you guys see it, my hair is gonna look all over the place. And at the beginning of the video, I'm like, oh, hey guys, sorry about the hair, but I just want to make sure I got this video out to you guys. And then I start going in on the video. It wasn't until afterwards when I started to cut it and edit it that I realized how wild my hair is. Because my hair is kind of poofy right now. But yesterday I had just taken the braids out. So it was like stringy and everything. And I was like, okay. And in post, it definitely didn't look as nice as it originally was expected to. But that's not, the worst thing in the world. That being said, we're closing in on 800 subs, y'all. 798. I love it. Yep, 2 more from 800 and then 200 from 1,000. I need to drop a couple bangers. I'm like 2, maybe 3 really good bangers away from like hitting that. You said last 5 games, Jazz defense is top 8, I think. They're number 1 in not fouling as well. I would definitely believe that. The biggest thing about the Jazz is in the beginning of the season, our offense looked really good and our defense looked piss poor because we were playing really good teams that had really good offenses. So obviously, if we're going to have any chance of being in that game, we're going to score a lot of points. But because we also can't stop another team that's a juggernaut like the Phoenix Suns, their objective is to score a lot of points. So that, alongside the fact that they feel like they have to get it done, it just coincided so well with it. That being said, obviously things change as time advances and we play different teams that will more so even out the stats and give us a true medium, because our defense isn't nearly as bad as the numbers probably say in the beginning. It's just so because of the teams that we've played. And then going forward, it'll be probably middle of the pack defense, middle of the pack-ish offense. I'll probably say around mid-season, if we can kind of right the ship, we'll probably be closer to like 14th offense, maybe 18th defense, 17th. We could really get our defensive rating really up, but it's going to take a lot. TN, what's up, man? Yeah, I just want to do a quick game recap. Yeah, I was going to do it at 2 o'clock, but I ran behind because I was at the gym getting a lift in. It's like, I gotta do something because there was a lot of positives in this game. And I really hated that I didn't get to stream it. So I actually wanted to just put together a VOD so that anybody that usually would see my live stream still has something to watch at some point during their day. And I was like, since there's not a game on Sunday night, I'll just record it real quick before I go into work. And that way it wouldn't be too long. I was going to make it 30 minutes. Obviously, I'm bordering on an hour now. But, I just figured it'd be good. Let me see. Went to the Trailblazers page yesterday. I was so shocked by how many fans were complaining they took away that 3-point shot that didn't get off in time. That was one of the best things about the recent NBA review rules, right? Because it caught that. Because nothing would have pissed me off more. I think we still would have won that game. Let me go ahead and preface that. I think we still would have won that game even if he hit that 3. But I would have been pissed if that had happened. And we whether especially if we lost, if the Utah Jazz lose that game and then people look back and pull up the review, like the old game tape, and they're like, the shot shouldn't have counted. It's too late now. The game's over and we just took a loss, and it shouldn't have been a loss. So I think it was the right play call. I also think that call was missed when Sexton tried to get that go ahead layup to put us up, and he went to the basket. I felt like a defensive player encroached on his off arm, his forearm, because as he goes to the rim, he has his arm flared out like that, and he's going for the lay with the offhand with his, obviously he's right-handed, his right hand, and I see his arm come in as the guy comes in, and almost simultaneously he gets the ball, he smacks the ball off glass. But I felt like he made contact with the forearm before he got that block, which would have been a foul. Now, considering our recent history with these things, for example, cough cough, when Kevin Durant blocked Larry Markkinen, and they were like, he just barely touched the ball before he touched Larry Markkinen's wrist, so it was not a foul. I think that one deserved similar treatment, but if we didn't get it, we still close the game out. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. We've all been up by one and the ball 30 seconds left instead of them down two with 30 seconds. Exactly. We would have been the ones fouling. Yeah, he said. My man did the MJ shrug and all too. Exactly. That it irritated me. I was like, all right, buddy, off glass. Didn't count, you bum. Take it back. So lack of consistency with those types of calls bugs me. Yeah. It was nice though that we were able to get, the little positive in the end. I was appreciative of them being able to close it out. And we really got to see like what a lineup with Keyonte George and Collin Sexton and Big Yurt looked like. Fontecchio wasn't great, but he played his part in the end to make sure he wasn't a complete negative when he was on the court. Who was it wasn't Abaji, was it? Who was the fifth on the court in OT? Or was it Abaji? It might have been Abaji. Yurt, Fontecchio, Sexton, George, because it wasn't THT. Clarkson was inactive. It wasn't Hendricks. Okay, it was. Yeah, I think it was Ochai. Okay, yeah. But yeah, across the board, those two were probably the most like not observed in the match. But at the end of the day, across the board, it was decent enough. He said, "Who was the one asking me about the arena comments Locked On Jazz makes? If you're here, let me know. I got a story for you." Those things I've seen so far. Oh my goodness. Nah, Tay had me crying because I look at my DMs. He DM'd me about the interaction. Listen to what he says in the hallway as he's walking past him. And then his inner arena comments that they played over the screen. And I'm just sitting there dying the whole time because it was goofy. It was something, it was as if you were talking to somebody who had never played the game of basketball before. And it's like, it's not even a genuine like thing. Yeah. I wouldn't even say it was dumb. I would say that it was just like it was as if you were trying to explain how to win a game of basketball to a 5-year-old. Don't foul, save your challenges, like that kind of thing. And it's like, okay, that's very non-descriptive and it doesn't help explain what exactly the issues are with the team or what the team actually needs to do. It borders on there was one meme I saw. It was like explain how great prime LeBron was. And then one of the analysts on ESPN had a little graphic come up and it was like someone so's keys to Miami Heat success. LeBron wake up, LeBron eat breakfast, LeBron get to the plane on time, LeBron enter the stadium. It is like one of those things. That's a crazy thing to sit there and say because it's not genuinely analytical. It's just making, in a sense, fun of how simple it is to win that game. And I didn't like what he had to say. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it was very generic, beyond generic, honestly. Like it was as if somebody was like, how do I win the game? How do I beat him in a one-on-one? Make more shots and get stops on defense. Like, no dip. How else would I? I never thought of that. Make more shots. Goodness gracious. Shoot a higher percentage from the field. You're on to something. Like, bro, what? He said we could easily win the game because we beat the Pelicans and the Pelicans are good and the Blazers are not. Therefore, the Jazz are good and the Trailblazers are not good. Step 6S, wake up, work hard. He said the Jazz were good and the Trailblazers were not. Like, that's an insane statement to make. And to play it in the stadium, I understand there's Jazz fans there, so it's going to be a little bit of bias. Like, yeah. But it's like, bro, for real? For real. and to not even reference the abysmal game that we had against the Trailblazers last time. That's why I didn't even make a post last night regarding it. Like before the game, I usually be like, "How are we feeling about the game tonight, boys? We play so and so at home. What are we thinking?" Like, no, there was no point because I was like, "Bruh, if I sit there and drop this post and everybody's feeling good, and these guys come out and get smacked by 20 again, I'm gonna be sick to my stomach." But they didn't. They played a pretty solid game, so I'm appreciative of that. Considering the Blazers spanked us 3 games ago, I wouldn't say better than them. Yeah, I've come to the conclusion that even after this game, obviously there's no Lowry marketing, but we're probably a little bit better than them. A little bit better. Like probably out of 10 games, we win 7-ish, 7, 8 of them. He said, "Oh God, our record has been rough. I'm curious to see our records at home and away. We are 1-9 on the road, I believe, because we lost to the Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah, we gave the Grizzlies their first home win, and we also only have one road win. Our home record is actually really good. It might be 50. We might be having even split now, low key, unless we're 4-5. You might be 4-5 at home. 1-8, 1. Yeah, yep. Yeah, so we're a genuinely competitive team at home. So home field advantage is a real thing, guys. Because the team definitely plays better. I mean, I guess I should also look at the strength of schedule of those games, but we've also played the Trailblazers and the Memphis on the road and lost to them. So I don't think the strength of the team really matters. I think we're just better at home. Should have beat the Magic too. Yeah, there was a lot of things that went bad in that Magic game, especially down in the clutch. But the Magic are a good team this year. They have a winning record right now, do they not? I think they're like 3 games over 500. Low key, I could be wrong, but they're definitely better right now than they were in the past like 5 years. Home teams win 62% of the time. I believe it. Home court is it, yeah. Like even for a rebuilding team like us, it matters. You know what I'm saying? That said, I really covered all the big things. I didn't have anything like super impressive to share with you guys anymore. Yeah, man. Like, sub, turn on post notifications, become a member if you haven't. Get those videos earlier than everybody else. Drop suggestions for videos in the comment sections. I have a couple community posts asking about them, so make sure you hit those and let me know. Let me know something. What should I talk about next? If you want to donate so that I can go ahead and get some more visuals added to the videos more consistently, go ahead and do that. It will be greatly appreciated. Aside from that, I don't have anything crazy. Know something. Magic are 14-6. Yeah, so that's the best start they've had since what? It's got to be. Were they good at any point in the 2010s? I don't recall them ever being like a solid team, like a winning record team. So this has to be their best start in at least a decade, I would say. Yeah, Fontecchio shot like hot dog water from the field, but he made up for it with his defensive effort. He was there when they needed him to be. I used to be I guess hater. Fair enough. Yeah, biggest hater. Yeah, I get you there. He's making moves. So we gotta appreciate what he does well, even though we want to criticize him for the things that he makes mistakes with, because life happens, mistakes happen, all that good stuff. But we appreciate his efforts anyway. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate his efforts anyways. You said for sales words protected a good job defensively. Yeah. Not to mention 5 assists and 5 rebounds. Yeah. Don't really get the top. Yeah. He realized his shooting stroke wasn't falling, and he still attempted shots. He was 1 of 8 from three, but he also made sure he did the other things in the game well, which is why he was able to stay on the court for more than 30 minutes. Right? He made sure he was a piece. He made sure, as much as a negative as he was offensively, he was also affecting the game in other ways that allowed him to be not a hindrance to his team, which was honestly just the most important part for him. He's definitely serviceable. Very low key. Very low key. He is serviceable. Ooh, I gotta share this. I know we talk basketball on here and everything, but I just had to share this with somebody. So I coach track and coach high school track, indoor and outdoor, and I also have a middle school basketball team that I do. And I had to create new jerseys because we couldn't find new jerseys. So I took the Kings, the branded blue, like this season's their city edition jerseys, the blue ones where it has like the Kings inside of a white stripe down the side, the number on the opposite chest, and then just simple stripes down the side. And I switched it up for our school team and made it a track jersey. And instead of the number, I put the bull symbol because we're the Bulls. We have like this interesting one where it's kind of like the what is it, University of South Florida, where they're more so like their thing as opposed to like the Chicago Bulls type emblem. So I put that on one chest, and then in the stripe, we just switched the inside of the stripe to black, and then Bulls and white. And I think it's kind of hard for a track jersey. I'm interested to see how the samples come out though. So I might have cooked. I might have cooked. I might be the coolest coach on the planet. um, but you said I don't want Tech to start, but off the bench he can make 40. If he can make 40% of his threes and not be a defensive liability, I take it. Yeah, I say he's definitely worth like 20 minutes off the bench, 18, 20 minutes. Now, obviously, we don't have Hendricks and everybody in the lineup yet, which might change things a bit. But if they do actually end up moving Kelly Olynyk like people believe they will, for one, I'm going to miss him. But for two, it'll probably open up some more minutes for Fontecchio once Hendricks gets pulled up because you're going to need some extra playmaking. Make a video about Hendricks. I know you did one recently, but he got a real big playing time. Yeah, so I recorded a video before that game because I didn't know he was going to be active for the game. So I recorded a video regarding the most recent G League game when he had his 26 points and 9 boards. So I had a tape about that, and I think I'm going to record an extra little tidbit and add it onto it once Sachin sends the video back to me with all the clips added, and just add it to it and be like, this is post game about the his most recent success with the main roster. He did such and such, and I think it's also going to be indicative of him getting more minutes in the long term. Obviously, we were shorthanded, and that's why he was able to play. But in the long term, I could see him getting some more minutes. Just a little extra about that. I definitely got that one. Yeah. If you don't see it tomorrow, it'll definitely be out Tuesday because Sachin actually he popped into the stream, and it's literally he's in India. So he's literally it's 3 a.m. for him right now. So why he decided to hop in the chat at 3 a.m., I don't know why. I guess he was literally working on my video and saw I went live. So he popped in. But whenever he finishes that, I'm gonna go ahead and slap it on there. So I'm expecting it tomorrow. You said his defense is pretty good for not having much time under his belt, but that shot release is like it is. It is. It is. It will be he's where is he from? Is he from like he's not from France? Fontecchio. Is he Italy? Is it Italy? He's got to be from like a EuroLeague area. I think he's Italy. But yeah, that shot motion just comes with it comes with the European bag. He said, "Yeah, it's Italy." Oh, I'm good at this. I'm so good at this. Awesome. Yeah, so that's probably more so why his shot seems to have the release that it does. People like the Tyrese Halliburtons of the world have interesting jumpers too, but somehow they work. So, what's the saying? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, keep doing it. Eagles. Mm-hmm. Yep, very similar too. Yeah, but hey, that thing went in. That thing went in. Don't play with that boy. Because you leave him open, he ain't gonna shoot. He ain't gonna shoot 5, 6, 7, 8 a game. But if you leave him open, he'll shoot 5, 6, 7, 8 of them in a game. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I just wanted to touch base with y'all. Let y'all know what was going on. For those that usually are on live with me that didn't, obviously I didn't stream because I had work. I wanted to give them something to watch in the meantime, in between time, especially since Sunday I wasn't able to record a video for today. I was like, you know what, let me just go live, knock this stuff out, chop it up with anybody that happens to be on, and the ones that don't get to make it, they can just watch the VOD. It'll be up, and they'll feel like they were included in it. You know, like who's usually in here with us? It's a good number. Like Derek's not here. Tay and Lee, you guys popped in. Logic was the first one in here. Finn's not here. It's a bunch of the guys. But just wanted to give them something to look at in the meantime, in between time. I think I'm gonna start doing a thing where, like, at the end of my videos, I'm gonna have a card, like a title card, that'll have all the channel members or all the recent donators that made each video possible. I think I should start doing that low key. Because I've been thinking of like how to like acknowledge like obviously we have 3 members in the chat right now, Tay and Lee and Logic, but like even the people that donate on the Buy Me a Coffee site, I wanted to do something to where they feel acknowledged in front of everybody. Because like realistically, I couldn't do like a lot of the stuff that I'm doing right now without everybody's donations. Because like one thing I'll say is being in content creation is difficult in the beginning because you have to, especially in the sports space, because there's so many guys that do sports teams. You have to find a team that you can like put stuff on for. You have to be consistent with it. In the beginning, you're never going to be picked over like an NBA channel, anything ESPN related, any notarized, like known content creator that makes a video, even if they don't even like that team. If they just have more subscribers, they get out above you. And so you have to just climb that rope. And it's like months and months and months, for some people, years before they actually get their channel monetized and they can like do brand deals and stuff like that to cover all their expenses for the channel. But I think with me working the third shift job, it's also pushed things a little bit longer. And like obviously now with the donations, those have helped out a lot. So I've been able to upgrade some of my equipment, and I got more upgrades coming for the videos. So definitely be on the lookout for those. And it's all happened in like basically 6 months because I really started this thing in like late June, last week of June, I think. So yeah, definitely I appreciate y'all. You said I just remember the Clippers leaving him right open the playoffs as he has the easiest 3 years career. Mm-hmm. Missing a bunch and still got 10. Y'all have a great rest of the day, everyone. Yes, sir. What Logic said. Keyonte still confused me. Has 4 stupid turnovers, then somehow makes impossible pass to Ochai. Yeah, he's gonna fine tune it soon. I love that he's willing to pull the trigger, though. The biggest issue we had with THT would see the correct pass and then hesitate to make the correct pass. And so by the time he releases the ball from his hand, the guy's out of position or the defender's closed out on the space, or they just read the pass and got the steal or got the tip. With Keyonte, he's more likely to outthrow you on a pass or lead you too far because he sees it. He knows it's going to be there, and he's just trying to lead you into the position where you need to be. And just because the guys don't have a lot of like consistent chemistry and playtime together, everybody doesn't receive the passes the same way that they probably should. But I think in the long term, he's making the correct reads. It's just about him making sure he gets the ball there with proper timing. But I love the fact he's not trigger happy. Let me say that. He's not trigger happy to where when he sees a pass, he just dishes it. That's not him. He's somebody that he sees the pass, sees the way the play is developing, and he has good anticipation for where to put the ball It just always isn't the same connection between both people. And that chemistry is what makes certain passes seem a little bit boneheaded at times. And at times he does make a poor reads. Like he sees the vision, but he doesn't see all the obstacles in between him and the pass he's trying to make, which did catch him, I think, twice last game. I think 2 out of 4 turnovers. Tate, you could correct me if I'm wrong. You said 2 more subs from 800? I know, man. 2 from 800 and then 200 till monetization. I'm gonna try and pitch myself to Manscaped. That's gonna be the first one. Manscaped. My facial hair isn't even showing up on the camera right now. That's crazy. I think it's gotta have my brightness up so high. No, it's just not gonna change. Okay. But yeah. Talk to me. You said he got poked his first turnover. Who poked it? Was it Thibault? He got called for a travel because his foot dragged for a second. Yeah. Third turnover, Simon dropped the ball for. Okay, so yeah, I was referring to the third and fourth then. Yeah. Kamara. He started at the small forward for them yesterday. He didn't shoot well from the. No, he shot okay from the field. He was the one that shot okay, but he had like 4 steals in the game, didn't he? I closed out my stats. I think he had 4 steals in the game. So yeah, that's understandable. As far as like the dragging of the feet, that's just something that comes with time. It's a little thing. It's not always going to get called, but sometimes if it's apparent enough, they're going to call it. Simon dropping the ball, like I said, chemistry, overthrowing John Collins, seeing the vision, getting the ball there with proper timing, and just chemistry again. So really, not terrible at all. Probably out of time today, but I have a good trade idea I thought of. Yeah, go ahead and shoot. Yeah, I got a couple minutes left. I can make it. We got like we've been live for an hour and 20, so we got like a good 8 minutes left. I can do that. Talk to me. What we got? Would you trade for Cade Cunningham? That's interesting. This is the thing. Cade Cunningham is slightly further along than Keyonte is. So by trading for Cade Cunningham, considering he's also not old or like in the middle of his career yet, right? You would probably have to decide between the two of them who you want. And right now we're saying that Keyonte is that guy. So if you don't think Keyonte is us trading for Cade Cunningham would effectively harm Keyonte's development because Cade Cunningham is going to have the ball in his hands to be effective. He is a playmaker. He can play make for himself and he's a shot maker. He can make shots for himself and play make for his teammates. But by and large, you're probably not picking up Cade Cunningham just to be there and basically do what John Collins did when he was with Atlanta, stand in the corner and shoot threes. You know what I'm saying? If Keyonte wasn't as good as he is, and we were kind of up in the air about what we would do long-term for the franchise, Cade Cunningham would definitely be a godsend for this roster in particular because he has the playmaking sense and the ability and the maturity as a basketball player, and as well as size and everything to make a genuine difference on this roster, I would say. He said, only training for Cade is for playing at the 3. But Lowry's at the 3, so who would you move to the bench? I think we need a transition scorer. Yeah. We need somebody. We need who's a good person to think of in that sense? Like we need somebody like I wish John Collins could be that for us. If that makes sense. Like somebody like you remember when think Chino Hills basketball, like when the Ball family was like at the peak of their powers and LeVar Ball was talking all his trash. Like we just need somebody that can play solid defense and also when the ball gets poked loose, they're flying down the court. Like we need that extra scoring punch and we don't have that because we can sometimes poke the ball loose, but then it turns into we dribble down the court and get stopped right there. And then it's just a regular offensive possession. When everybody knows if you can get a bucket in transition or you can get a shot attempt in transition, it's automatically going to be better for you percentage-wise than it would be if the defense gets set. I don't have anybody off the top of my head that would be like ideal. That's the thing. Did you have somebody, Money, did you have somebody in mind, like in particular? Or like a certain archetype of a player that we could get? Chris done pretty good at that. Not amazing, but good. Yeah. The other thing about Chris Dunn is the way he's our best defender by far on the perimeter because of the way he plays defense. He's not super long or super tall. Remember, he's like 6'4" with like a 6'6", 6'7" wingspan. Josh Hart is a good example. C Dog, what's up, bro? Yeah, Josh Hart is a really good example of that. Josh Hart doesn't have an extremely well-rounded offensive bag to get into, but when it comes to those little things and being that little Swiss Army knife, he has that in his bag. And I wish we had somebody that we could, work with like that. Plus, people like Josh Hart aren't super expensive trade wise to get, which is good. It's just about the teams being willing to trade him away. But by and large, he doesn't command a high asking price. Honestly, Ochai should be that. He's not there. Yes, actually, money, you are nailing the head with that. Because ideally, Ochai is that guy. He has he has that sneaky athleticism. He has that uncanny ability to find himself in the right place at the right time and elevate above the rim. He just needs to get after it. Similarly to the way he plays defense, he has all the tools to be an elite defender, but he doesn't have. If you put Chris Dunn's mind in Ochai's body, I'm not going to say you have Kawhi Leonard, but you have a pretty close comparison there. Now, he just needs to, I don't know if it's a reps thing, if it's a watching film thing, if it's a observing another great defensive player that's a wing kind of thing, but he needs to make that next step defensively to allow him to be that lockdown. And then, of course, just sprinting out and being willing to run, being that racehorse down the court so he can get an easy bucket in transition. He's an elite on-ball defender, but he doesn't create turnovers. Yeah, that's the issue. Like, he's somebody where he does, because he doesn't create turnovers, and because when he does get a quick stop, guys pass the ball and he doesn't affect the passing lane, it looks like he's just there on the court. For example, in last night's overtime, I was trying to remember who the fifth person was because I remember Fantecchio, because I remember him I was like, yo, why is he on the court? And then he played good defense. The thing about Ochai is he plays good defense, but he doesn't get noted. He doesn't get noted for it because he's just there. Like, it happens. It's not flashy. It just happens. The ball gets swung somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like if you try to drive on somebody and they're like a brick wall and you can't make a move. And so somebody comes across your face and then you just initiate a different action on offense. You kick the ball out. Nobody paid attention to the fact that they just got to stop because the offensive possession is still going. The buddy just decided to swing the ball. He didn't decide to shoot and get blocked. He didn't decide to just chuck up a shot. He just kicked the ball somewhere else. And Ochai decided, okay, I'm going to let you pass that ball out. You said if Ochai could be Ochai plus get 2 steals per game consistently, that would be great. Yeah, that's why I said if you put Chris Dunn's body, because Chris Dunn has really great instincts when it comes to reaching without fouling. If you could give that type of feeling to Ochai, you're in really great waters because he's already there. Like, you're not moving him. The only person I've seen really give Ochai a bucket for real is Kevin Durant. But that's Kevin Durant, so that's to be expected, right? Everybody else is like fighting for their lives. So combine fighting for your lives with I'm also going to rob you in the process. And you have a lot of people that will literally pass the ball or beg for a screen before they go head to head with him. I'm pretty sure for the front office, they don't know what archetype of player would take us to another level, and you don't want to rush and make that mistake. That's also fair. Me and Lee actually were going to make a video because he posed the question, can you be a true championship contender and win with your first option not being a playmaker? Obviously talking about Lauri Markkanen. Now, Lauri, we know, is an elite shooter, right? He's also got the range and length to affect shots at the rim, and he's a pretty solid defender. But it's like, is he good enough to make the difference overall? And I just don't know if that's true or not. You know what? Guys, I just realized why my camera looks the way it does. I have the wrong camera active right now. Yeah, the camera I usually have active. It's plugged in, and I've been looking at it this entire time. But then I realized that my webcam light is flashing right now. So the whole time my webcam has been the one that's been on. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, but by and large, yeah. I would definitely say that they need to take it very slow. And we have a lot of room to work with, like I said, whether it be from a draft capital standpoint or just assets to move around and make something shake. There's no real rush for it. and we just need to take a moment. I think percentage of Lowry's shots that are facilitated was something like 8%. Yeah, definitely. I definitely buy on that number, honestly. But that's just who he is. You know what I'm saying? That said, I gotta hop off here and get ready for work. Hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. Tried to make it the most interesting. He said, that's when he gets his shots. He shoots like 20%. Goodness. Yeah, that is a problem. But made the most of what we could do with the time that we had. Enjoyed a pretty solid game last night. I wouldn't say great, but it was a lot of great things that happened in that game. I'm happy that we were able to make the most of our opportunities, make things shake, and hopefully we can continue this momentum into the forward coming games. Obviously, when Lowry gets reevaluated to see if he can come back from that, left hamstring issue that he's having, seeing if Clarkson comes back. You said we won, so it's a great game for me. It's darn good. It's darn good. There were some negatives, there were some questions, but because we played the Trailblazers and because we executed defensively, things really worked out. Collin Sexton, Omer Yurtseven, and Keyonte George were definitely the best three for us out of the game. But yeah, man. As always, like the video, comment your thoughts, subscribe, turn on post notifications. If you're not a member, become a member to get the videos earlier than everybody else. Thanks for tuning in, spending a minute with us. And without any further ado, good morning, good evening, good night. No matter where you are on the globe watching, thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Now it's time for work.